Welcome to this episode of Retirement Crusaders. Today, my Retirement Crusader bro, Neil Frankel, is going to talk about 5 mistakes he made in retirement. Now, not every one of these mistakes will relate to you. The first one, you might say, well, what's that got to do with me? Or maybe the second one, but maybe the third one, bingo, is of great value to you. So please stay with us till the end until he goes through the 5 mistakes he made, because there's something of value here for absolutely everybody. All right, so Neil, let's talk about the first one. When you retired same time, and you had some real estate in the United States, which you sold. And I think in looking back, you wish you hadn't sold it. So what was the mistake there? Was the selling the real estate the mistake, or was there something about how you sold it? What happened there?
Okay. The problem was that I trusted a friend in the real estate business to rent it out. We wanted to rent it out first just to see how it goes. That experience was so bad, we chose that realtor based on her being our friend, not on her professional standing. As a result of that, the experience was terrible, and I just decided I can't do this anymore. I've got to sell it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. Had we had a good realtor and a good experience, maybe I would have held on to that real estate. And had I done that, that would have created more retirement income than I need today. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but the fact is the mistake was not in selling, but the mistake was in using a realtor that was based on friendship and not on professional standards.
So as a general rule, would we want to advise viewers, when you need to do business, don't do it with friends and family. Pick a professional that has proven to have a good track record, and not pick a professional based on relation or the fact that you have a long-standing friendship?
I wouldn't say it that way, Larry.
Okay.
It's okay to start the process of elimination by looking at people that you know and trust and have a relationship with. But that's not the only criteria. So you start off by saying, okay, I know this person, I like him, I trust him, but now let me look at their professional credentials and let me check them out. It's got to be a 2-step process. It can't be just based on friendship or trying to do someone a favor.
Got it. Okay, good. Now, in just a few minutes, Neil's going to go through 3 additional mistakes he made when he retired. If this type of education is useful for you, please, down below, click the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you'll get notified each time we post a video. Also, below in the description, there's a link to our Facebook group. Love to see you there, where you can participate in conversations with other people who are either nearing retirement age or already retired. And there's a link to our 10 different retirement booklets on various retirement topics. All right, so let's continue. Let's get back to it. So Neil, there was an issue you mentioned to me about investing your liquid assets. As a matter of fact, everybody should watch the video we did in the last 2 weeks on how to get higher returns on your liquid money. But you said you did make some mistake about that when you retired. So talk about that, and what advice can you give to our viewers?
We kept about 4 years worth of cash needs. We've kept all our investments in growth equity, and all the rest, which was 4 years worth of our cash needs, we kept in completely liquid accounts. That was really, really dumb, because I also had income coming in from other sources, from the sale of my business, etc. So it made no sense.
So at the time, what was going through your mind where you kept so much liquid? In other words, what was the thought process then that, when you look back on it now, was an incorrect thought process?
The problem was that me and my wife were not on the same page when it came to buying real estate. That's what it boils down to. We went back and forth. We wanted to buy a home, but we were far apart in the criteria for buying the right home. So it just dragged on and on and on and on, and we just kept too much money cash.
All right, so basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's because the vision was not clear between you and your spouse how to employ your funds. the indecision had you keep a lot of money liquid because you didn't know what direction you were going in. And then the sacrifice or the lost opportunity was earning whatever, 3 or 4% on that money when it could have been earning much more over a significant period of time. Am I summarizing that correctly?
Well, it was worse than that because rates at the time, Larry, were about 0 or a half if you were lucky. Now that changed when short-term rates went up to 5%. I said, okay, we're on the same page. We're going to buy some short-term treasuries and get 5%. That's this getting 0 is nothing, and it's the 5% the treasuries are still liquid. But other than that, you're absolutely right.
Okay, but as we covered in that video that we did about investing liquid cash, there's not many times in history when you can get 5% on a treasury security. Most of the time, it's 1%, 2%, something that is just relatively useless. Correct?
No, you're absolutely right. Like I said, what you summarized it well. What led to that problem was that we just weren't on the same page, and we were going to buy a house, and we weren't going to buy a house, and we never got our visions aligned.
All right. Now, there was another. You did buy a piece of real estate when you moved to your new location around retirement time. But there was something you mentioned about that. You said that was a mistake, and you did buy a home. But so what was the mistake?
We bought what we thought was our dream home. It was overlooking the Mediterranean. It was beautiful, quiet, lovely. But we should have rented there for a year because it was too far away from our kids, and we had never lived together. We hadn't lived together in an apartment, in a condo, for 30 years. And we just couldn't get used to that again. That just didn't work for us. So on paper, it looked really good, Larry, but in reality, it was a failure, and we sold it, and didn't work.
All right, so wait, I'm actually hearing two things that I think are really useful pieces of advice. The first thing I'm hearing is you had lived for 30 years in a single family residence, with land, and if I remember correctly, that house had a pool, nice single family resident, and you moved to a condominium. So that was one issue where it was a very drastic change in the environment that you were used to. The second was you moved to a location where you had not lived in before, and in retrospect, you would have said you should have rented for a year to see if you liked the location and if it fit the rest of your lifestyle. So were those the two things? Am I separating those correctly as two issues?
Yes, but I think that because of the first issue, which was we hadn't lived in a condo for 30 years and it was far away from our kids, so those were big question marks, that should have led to renting. If it was a house nearby the kids, we wouldn't have had to do that. So because they were such drastic changes, we needed to rent, we didn't need to buy.
Okay, good. So in other words, your advice to anybody, if you're moving after retirement and it's to a new area, best advice, rent for a while before you buy. Yes?
Absolutely right. Got to do it.
Okay. All right, good. Now, rather than fully retiring, you realize, look, I just can't, I can't sit around and, count my money all day. I got to do something to stay busy and engaged. But you said when you took on some work in retirement that you made some mistake about the kind of work that you took on. So what happened there?
Yeah, at that time, Larry, I grew my hair long. I had a ponytail. I was trying all kinds of different things. Legal, keeping it legal. But I took a job in a high-tech company in their marketing department. Now, I know nothing about high-tech, and I know even less about marketing. But through connections, I got this job, and it was extremely frustrating for me and my employer. It was terrible, just terrible. Hated it.
All right, so what I'm hearing there is if somebody's going to do some work in retirement, that the closer you can make it to something where you have experience, from previous work, from your career, the better. Trying something new could be a very difficult situation because you don't know what you're getting into. Is that an accurate summary?
Yeah, I would say keep it close to either your previous type of employment or a hobby that you had. Maybe tie up a part-time job with a hobby you have. But if you don't, then you're taking on a big risk, and it's going to be frustrating. Plus the fact that I had been self-employed for 30 plus years, I didn't want some 30-year-old telling me what to do. I just didn't like it.
Got it. All right, now, I know retirement wasn't mistake after mistake. There were a lot of things you did right. So can you just share a few of those with us?
Yeah, and I think this is actually a very important part of the segment, because everyone makes mistakes, Larry. We're not perfect, and I had never been retired before, so you're going to bump up against the wall. But I think the positive things are, number one, when I realized I made a mistake, I corrected for that quickly. I didn't compound the errors. I made smart investments. Things are still in pretty good shape. Very important, I kept track of my spending. And, when you retire, your spending is the thing that you have most power over. You can't control your income and you can't control the results of your investments, but you can watch your spending. So I did a really good job of that, and I tied that into the performance of our assets and so forth, and that helped us make other decisions with respect to our lifestyle. I really enjoy my free time. My hobby is music, and I've been playing a lot of music lately. I have a grandson who's 1.5 years old, a little older, almost 2 years old, and spend a lot of time with him, and I enjoy that. And most important, because I had a financial plan and continue to update it, I realized that I don't need to stress about this stuff. When I took that part-time job in tech, in marketing, I don't even know why I did it. I guess I was used to working, used to making money, and realizing now, thank goodness I don't really have to worry about that. It takes a lot of stress off. So those are the most important things, and I think they're very important. And despite the mistakes, it's all right. Things are good.
So I just want to call to people's attention, one of the videos you'll find on our YouTube page that Neil presented was how to track your expenses in 5 minutes a month using Quicken. It's a really important thing to do, and people overlook it. I can recall when I was an advisor, I had people who didn't track their expenses. They started spending way too much money, and I really think they blew up their retirement. So it's a thing they can do in a few minutes a month, and it's super useful to do. Agreed. Okay, well, great. Listen, Neil, thanks for sharing those 5 mistakes you made. Everybody, see our links below in the description, and click the subscribe and the bell icon so we can see you real soon in our next video. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time on Retirement Crusaders.